Good morning, students. You're welcome to another English class. I hope you're able to do your history projects from our last class about writing diaries. I hope it helped you with your history project and hope it was very successful and Mr. Oscar liked your work. Your work. Well, today we are going to continue. We've done unit 1, which was about saying hellos and meeting and greeting. We are going to start unit 2 today, but we have to set a time in which we are going to write our test, We're going to write our unit test. Well, we are going to start unit 2, which is titled Personal Identity. We are going to start Unit 2, which is titled Personal Identity. Before we start to discuss about what personal identity is and what we need to do, let's have a warm up as we usually do. So, the warm up today is about gifts, it's about gifts. If you could remember, well, last time we discussed something about giving gifts and stuff like that. So, I want you to think about the following questions, then answer one of them and tell the class. Out of these three questions, you're gonna answer one, but think about all of them. One, what is the best gift you could ever receive? What is the best gift you could ever receive? Two, what do you usually present to your family members or friends? And third, is a book a good gift? Is a book a good gift? So think about these three questions. In the next 3 minutes, I'll take random replies from you. Think of all these questions and choose one that you will answer to the class. Take 5 minutes and we shall continue. Okay, so today basically we are going to do uh, almost three activities. I said almost because the listening part is going to be a partial listening that we are going to do. So first, we are going to do a reading. We're going to read about two teenagers. We are going to read about them. They try to understand themselves and school, where they are, and things like that. We are going to read about them. Then we're going to answer some questions based on what we've read, and we're going to do a partial listening where uh, you answer some questions. Okay. So we just dive right in, straight right in. So this is right here is the passage. We are going to read about uh, two people, Shamira and Sunil. Shamira and Sunil. But before we read about them, let us go back to the topic of the day. What is this topic talking about, in fact? Personal identity. What is personal identity? So we're going to take replies, we're going to take your reactions to that. What do you think personal identity is? What is personal identity? Okay, so personal identity simply means who you are. Who a person is a person's identity. From your name to your physical appearance to your attitude to your behavior to everything about you. Your identity simply means you as a person, everything about you, from your physical to your emotional to how you relate with people and how everything is around you. Who you are in general is talking about your identity. Now, personal identity differs from one person to another because people are different. Therefore, we need to know ourselves. Okay, and our identity is what tells people about who we are. The easiest way to identify people is by their names. Then secondly, by how they look physically, you know. So that is just to give you a little tidbit about what personal identity is all about. So we are going to read about this girl. Her name is Shamira, and the boy, his name is Sonil. So from there, we are going to read about them. We are going to understand their personality. We are going to understand their identity, who they are, what they do, where they come from, and maybe we'll be able to identify them later on to know who they are. So, there's a general question here. Are Shamira and Sunil mostly positive or negative about their own school? By the time we finish answering this question, by the time we finish reading about them, you should be able to answer this question if they are mostly positive or negative about their new school. So they're teenagers that have been enrolled in a new school. Apart from reading about their identity, we will see if they like or if they're positive about their new school or not. So let's go. First of all, read about Shamira. Shamira, year 7. My first few weeks at secondary school have been really fun. I've made loads of new friends and I've also met up with some old friends that I haven't seen for a while. So that's been good. At first, it was hard to find all my classes. I kept getting lost, and one teacher told me off because I was 10 minutes late for her lesson. Now I know my way around. The teachers have been really kind and the lessons aren't too difficult. We haven't had much homework yet, but I'm sure we get more after half term. Anyway, so far so good. This is Shamira's assessment. This is Shamira's feeling about the new school. Let's see Sunil's feeling. So Sunil, year 7. On my first day here, I was a bit nervous, but after a few hours, I was fine. The first few weeks have been really good. I've enjoyed learning new subjects and making new friends. My favorite subject is science. It's fun learning in a lab. I've joined the school orchestra. I play the drums. It's great. We are doing a concert at the end of term. So this is Sunil's feeling about the school, and this is Shamira's. Now, coming back to this question, are Shamira and Sunil mostly positive or negative about their new school? Which is the correct answer? Of course, both Shamira and Sunil are mostly positive about their new school. At first, the start were shaky, but as time goes on, they felt more confident. They felt they could express themselves better, and they are positive about the future in the school. So I think they're mostly positive would be the correct option to choose. So now, from what we've read, we are going to answer questions about it. Now, how long have Shamira and Sunil been at their new school? What problems they have had? What do they say about friends? What does Shamira think may happen after half term? What do you think Shamira means by so far so good? Which activity does Sunil do outside lessons? So answer these questions, then we shall continue the class. From what we've read, you will answer these questions, okay? Excellent. So take 7 minutes to answer these questions, then we shall continue. Okay, so this is why the listening part is partial. By now, I know you're done answering the questions. Now we will go to the listening. But the listening now is for the class to listen to you. Actually, Here is a class survey which has some questions, okay? Which has some questions, and Sunil and Shamira had answered these questions, but I do not have the audio to play. So we are going to do this survey on ourselves and answer these questions, and we can share these answers to the class. The survey is this: each and every one of us is going to answer these questions as part of this survey so that we can see how we are settling into school and what we are doing so far, and compare ourselves to Shamira and Sunil. This is it. We are all new in high school. This is grade 6. We just left the primary level and now we are at high school. We are in high school. And high school education is a little bit different from primary education. And the fact that now we're having this pandemic and the fact that we couldn't see each other and have like a normal class, we have to do it online, should make this survey really interesting. I'm really interested to see how our answers will be. So number 1, which subjects have you enjoyed most? Number 2, which subjects have you enjoyed least? 3, what have you done in science? 4, what have you done in history? 5, have you had good marks in all subjects? 6, have you done any after school activities? 7, which sports have you played? 8, have you been in trouble? And what for? 9, has the head teacher spoken to you? 10, have you enjoyed these terms so far? So I want you to do this survey, answer these questions, send them in, and we'll discuss about them. Okay? So let's look at the last part of what we are going to do today. It's just a recap, group activity, talking about personal identity. Personal identity. How do you understand it? To you, what does personal identity mean? You know? Can you identify yourself? Let's talk about this generally now. What does personal identity mean to you? How do you understand it? Can you identify yourself? If I ask you to identify yourself, what are you going to say? Now, here is a chart that helps to describe or to tell us about the components of identity. What makes up a human identity? Okay? What makes up human identity? We have interests, our interests, objects and possessions, our creations, our choices, our values, our beliefs, our appearance, our ethnicity, our practices, our habits, our work, our hobbies, our friends, our families. So these are components of identity, and these are what makes up some of the things that actually make up identity. Okay? So as this unit goes on, we shall continue to dig deep to understand the concept of personal identity and talk more as the day progresses. Remember, this is just the first lesson in Unit 2, talking about personal identity. So do the work, the task that you have to do today, and tomorrow we shall continue. Actually, there is no homework for this class, except of course if you haven't finished any of these tasks, then you have time now to complete it and send it to me. Okay, people, you can read more about personal identity so that it is easier for us as we proceed in these lessons. Okay.